Alrighty, everybody. So we're going to start building a 2D not platform, a top-down 2D adventure game. Our first step is you guys should click New Project. Make sure you're on Unity 6, and make sure you are on a 2D pipeline. I'm using Universal 2D here. It looks like there's another one called 2D Built-in Render Pipeline. That might also work, but I'm just going to use Universal 2D. And I'll name this top-down platform, blah, 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 and I click Create Project, and that leads me to this new project. So let's start adding a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to add is my top-down 2D player. And for now, I will just use a circle to be my player. And I'll just color that. Let's say my player is green for now. The ground is going to be green. Let's make him blue. My player will be blue for now. Right now I have a game. When I press play, nothing happens. Now, the first thing we're going to do is let's give our player some physics. This is going to be a top-down game, so let's add some physics and see what happens. So we're going to add a circle collider so that he can hit things, and let's pretend I forgot that. We're going to add a rigid body, and let's see what that does. So we're just going to give him a rigid body 2D, and let's see what that does. Now I press play, and we're going to notice two things. One problem we have right now is that our player is falling down. A second problem is falling off camera. So there's two problems. One is that he's using gravity right now. This is not a 2D game, so we're not going to use... this is not a side scroller. There's no vertical gravity up and down, which maybe will make more sense in a second once I demonstrate something, but I'm going to set gravity down to 0. And now he's going to stay in place. The other problem is that when he fell, he was leaving my camera behind, so I'm actually going to make my camera a child of my player, and I'll call this player. So just as a reminder, actually you guys could rewatch the video if you need a reminder. But we've moved the camera inside the player. Now he can't move yet, so we need to create our first script. I'm going to create a new folder. So I'm going to right click in my assets. I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to click folder. And I'm going to create a scripts folder for my scripts. Inside of my scripts folder, I will create a mono behavior script, and I'll name this player controller. Now, my player controller script is going to have a few lines of code so that I can move my player up, down, left, and right. So I can move him around. Now, the first thing we're going to have is a public variable. A public variable is a variable that can be accessed from anywhere. It's going to be a float. That means it's going to be a number that can have a decimal point. And we're going to call it move speed. Move speed is going to equal, for now, let's make it 5. You can change your move speed to whatever you want. We're also going to need a reference to the player's rigid body. So I'm going to write private rigid body 2D RB. This is going to be a reference to the player's rigid body. We haven't set it equal to anything yet. So this is just an empty reference to a rigid body. We're going to set that to be equal to the player's rigid body when the game starts. You can't do that until the game starts because the player doesn't exist until the game starts. We're going to create a private vector 2, and we're going to call this movement. And this is going to be the direction we move in. So that's going to, this movement value is going to be whichever buttons we're pressing. This movement value, a vector 2 looks like this. If I make a comment, a vector 2 looks like a coordinate point. You know, x comma y. It's going to be 2 numbers. And this movement value, let's say I'm moving to the left, my x will be -1. If I'm moving, so that would be to go left, it would look like this. And we'll write code to set this movement value in a second. Right would be +1. And then up and down would be on the y-axis. Either y is -1 would make us move down, or if y is +1, that would make us move up. These are going to be the 4 movement directions that we have, and we'll set those in our update. The first thing we should do when the game starts is we should tell our game that our rigid body is going to be equal to, and then it's going to find the component once our game starts. The reason we have to do this after the game starts and not up here is because this stuff up here happens before the game starts, and the rigid body doesn't exist yet before the game starts. So once the game starts, our rigid body variable will be set to our player's rigid body. It's going to get the rigid body from whatever this is attached to, and this is going to be attached to the player. Now, update is going to be setting our movement code. We're going to start at the beginning of each frame, and we're going to set our movement to 0, which is going to be vector 2.0. I believe I could also just set that as by doing 0, 0. I might need to say vector 2, 0, 0. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to set it to 0. It's going to be vector 2.0. And now we need to set the x and the y of this vector 2 to say which directions we should go in. So we'll do a few if statements. We'll say if input.getKey key code dot, if we're pressing W, then actually we'll also do an OR. Let's do, so if we're pressing W, or there's an OR button on my keyboard somewhere if I can find it. If I can't find the OR button, I'm sure my students are not going to be able to find this thing. Where is my OR button? I'm about to move on and just not do it. That's not it. That's not it. There it is. Okay, it's above enter. You have to hold shift and it's above enter, and you do 2 of those lines. I held shift and it was the button above enter. So if I'm pressing W, or if my input.keycode is up arrow. So if I'm pressing W, if input.keycode is W, that's if I'm pressing W, or if I'm pressing up arrow, then what should I do? I should set my movement dot vector 2. My movement already is a vector 2. My movement dot x, W is up, so my movement dot y should equal 1. So W is up, so my movement dot y should equal 1. Movement W dot y equals 1. I think that should be correct. It starts at 0. It gets set to 1 if I'm holding W. That should work beautifully. Now, I could rewrite this whole thing. Instead, I'm going to copy paste, which can be a little dangerous. Actually, you know what? It might be better if I do it by, instead of equals 1, we could say plus equals 1. This will add, I know I just did a lot here, but this will add 1 to 0, so this will be 1. But what's different about that is that instead of setting it to be equal to 1, it'll add 1, and then if I hold S, it'll subtract 1. So if I'm pushing both of them at the same time, I won't move. I think that's a slightly better behavior. So we'll do it like this. If I'm pressing W, my movement is going to increase by 1, so I would be moving up 1 on my y-axis. If I'm pressing S, I would be moving down on my y-axis. My y would be decreasing. I'd be moving down. Think of it like a piece of graph paper. Or if I'm pressing down arrow, my y would be moving down. So this is my y, my up and down. And we'll do one more copy paste. I'm going to copy these y values, these if statements for the y values. And we're going to change these to the x values. My movement x's. And my 2 buttons for my x movement is going to be A and D. Or I could do left and right, and we want to be a little careful when we copy paste because I got these backwards. I got these backwards. Left should be -1. I'm subtracting from my x's. And right should be +1. And then we're going to do one more line of code that you guys don't have to worry as much about. But we're going to write movement equals movement.normalized. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that we're moving diagonally. If I'm pushing 2 buttons at once, I still move the same speed. So it's a simple line of code. It is useful. We're going to include it. And now the last thing we're going to do is void fixed update rigid body dot velocity linear velocity equals movement times move speed. So what this is doing is it's setting the rigid body is my physics engine on my my player. That's my player's physics controller. Rigid body manages his physics. And I'm adding speed, I'm adding forces in the direction that we're going to my rigid body. So my linear velocity is going to be equal to whatever my movement vector is. The direction I'm moving is going to equal whatever movement vector we came up with. And then it's going to get multiplied by our speed. You guys can set speed in the character. We'll do that right now. So I'm going to make sure to hit Control S to save all of this. There should be green bars on the left side. If there's yellow, it means you didn't save. And then I need to go to Unity, and I have not attached this script to my player yet. So I'm going to drag this script into my player. My move speed is 5. Let's set it to 10 for now, and let's press play. Now, we're going to notice a problem. And I could tell you, I'm pretty sure this is all working, but when I'm pressing WASD, I'm pressing my arrow keys on my keyboard, and it doesn't look like I'm moving. The reason it doesn't look like I'm moving in my game is because there's nothing else in the game that I can move around. If you learn about relativity, you know, you might learn that movement doesn't really mean much unless you're moving away or towards something, moving relative to something else. So we're going to grab a 2D, let's just grab a random sprite. And for now, we can just move around this sprite. So now when I press play, we'll see that as I press down, right, left, and up, and down, I can move around this sprite. I am in control of my character. That's great. There's no collision yet, so that's something we'll maybe fix next time. For now, let's just get this 2D character working, where we can move around, where we can spin around. Next time, we're going to add some tile maps, we're going to add some collision, and maybe we'll add some props that we can push around. That'll be for next time. And then the time after that, maybe we'll start going to art.